Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye, Ganapataye, Om 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 Ganapataye, Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye, Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Ganapataye, Ganapataye, Om Ganapataye, 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 Ganapataye, Om.
Aloha! This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona, with Spiritual Image Productions on Facebook Live. Welcome to tonight's show. We and I want to thank all of you that stopped by. Thank you for stopping by. Tonight we have a full-fledged show, and if you're interested, and by the way, that music was from Daniel Paul from his album Elephant Prayers, Om Ganapataye. I love that album. Is just so awesome. It's just amazing. So anyhow, and we're going to play some more music by him a little bit later. But for now, tonight we're doing the Golden Age, the sixth annual Golden Age Psychic Prediction Show. We have Reverend Marietta White. Aloha, Marietta.
Aloha.
Thank you for being here. World-renowned psychic medium Reverend Marietta White specializes in spirit guide, careers and goals, money and finance, love and relationships, and UFO field investigations. Having seen and communicated with spirits since she was a young girl, she now offers these gifts to others through psychic readings, investigations, classes, healings, and more. As a clairvoyant and clairsentient, she channels intuitive messages with clear sight into the past, present, and future. Her messages are always delivered with a caring heart and calming voice. White also has the ability to communicate with deceased loved ones and offer messages to those who are seeking closure and validation of everlasting life. And then we also have Darla Diamond, all the way out. You're in Kansas, is that right, Darla?
That is correct. And
Yeah.
aloha, Andrew.
Thank you for being here. And Reverend Marietta White is out of New York. But anyhow, author, teacher, and international psychic, Dr. Darla Diamond has over 42 years of experience as a psychic medium. She uses claircognizance to tap into matters of the heart, love, romance, career, business, family, destiny, and finance. She specializes in past lives, dream interpretation, paranormal activity, Akashic records, and your aura. Her intentions are for you to receive the knowledge you want and or need. Her readings bring you peace of mind, clarity, and strength so that you can move forward with comfort and confidence. She encourages positive motivational manifestation to free your will to create the final outcome of your desire. May your blessings always be abundant. And again, thank you for being here, Reverend Marietta White and Darla Diamond. And of course, Andrew, aloha, myself, and I, producer, actor, author, mentor, Ascension coach, radio show host, psychic astrologer, Reiki master, love stream practitioner, lymphatic massage practitioner, hypnotherapist, and paranormal investigator. Andrew, aloha, myself, and I are executive producer of Spiritual Image Productions, whose mission, goal, and purpose is to establish and maintain right relationships through human values, to exemplify to others right healthy relationships with ourselves as well as with each other. He's consulted, counseled, coached, mentored, taught people all over the world over the years, and has been interviewed a number of times on various radio shows. So, and if you want to check that out more, you can go to spiritualimageproductions.com, and click on the Golden Age Psychic Show link, and that will take you to the page where I'm at now. In the meantime, if you guys are interested in getting a reading, we're going to do predictions right now for the first hour, maybe half. I don't know how long it's going to last. It's just going to be what it is. But if you are interested in getting a mini reading, then you'll want to go to that page, the Golden Age Psychic Show. Often click on that from Spiritual Image Productions, and that has the free conference call, phone number, and access code. Here, I can't even give it to you now. If you have a pen and paper, you're going to want to write this down right now, because here I go. If you want to call into the free conference call, we can entertain the idea of doing a free mini reading. Now, if you call in and you all of a sudden you're muffled, I put you on mute. It's just because I'm just trying to maintain a level of balance. That's all. So if you want to call in 712-451-0948, 712-451-0948, access code 936676, 936676 pound. Then if you want to meet, ask your questions, or if you have just questions that you want to ask, you can do so on free conference call. That way we can hear you and we can connect with you if you want to do that. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get started with these predictions, and these predictions are for throughout the year of 2021, things that will be projected to happen or occur throughout the year. So it's just I'm going to be doing an astrology version, and then Marietta White and Reverend Marietta White and Darla Diamond are going to do their psychic medium, their psychic stuff, and then we'll go from there. So it's all you now, Darla. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you for that. And I might mention also, I am a registered minister, and I do have a doctorate in metaphysics, so it is actually Reverend Doctor, but I don't usually go by that. It's kind of stuffy. At my age, I just go by Darla, so that works perfectly. And what I want to talk about first is kind of has to do with where the state of the world is financially first, I think, and with I mean, we can talk about the COVID. I do think that is going to be something that they're going to get under control, and I do feel they're going to have most of those shots distributed, and the people that do want them and are 70, 80 percentile by the end of summer, by, August, September. So I really believe there's going to be a huge push over the next 3 to 4 months to make this happen, and then all the follow-ups and round them up and make it happen to those who, I mean, if they're fighting it and they don't want to take the vaccine, they don't have to. They're not going to push it on them. But I do believe that everyone's going to have the chance or opportunity anyway to have that done by August, September. As far as financial, I'm also seeing that the United States is going to bounce back from this. Even though there's a lot of people out of work, I do see, this is a crazy number, 88 to 90 percentile of those people going back to work within the next 6 weeks to 15 weeks at most. I do feel like people are going to get their money worked out. The jobs are going to start to open back up. They're going to be busy. They're going to start, some of them creating their own directions in life, their own opportunities with that and bringing in the money. But those that have been on unemployment, they don't want to be there. So they're working and trying to make things happen so that they are reemployed in a facet that they enjoy and love. And that's good. So the restaurants are going to start to open back up, probably not as much until March. LA area, still going to have some struggles out there till the end of April. But once you guys get through, February, March, April, it gets easier and easier. Then things start to go back to normal pretty much by springtime for the Los Angeles area also. But for the rest of the country, everybody just starts to lift each other up and protect each other, even though during this next 5 to 10 days we're going to have some ups and downs, absolutely, with the stuff that's been going on around the Capitol and the election and the change of presidents and things like that. And not to get too political on either side, either way, it's really more about just people calming down and finding that peace and getting along. And those that need to be rounded up will be rounded up. They'll be sentenced. They'll have to go through their own trials. Yes, there's always going to be the news media playing it up. But for the most part, we're going to get the economy back online, people back to work, COVID shots happening, and things getting ready to take place. When Biden takes over, you're going to see big changes taking place, just bam, 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 and making things really move, okay? Even with foreign governments and, getting back into any kind of a foreign situation where we were connected before and we are no longer. As the United States, we will have the opportunity to, become part of that group again. I don't want to go into specifics, only because it has a tendency to set people off when we talk too much about the political side. But just know it's going to calm down. It will take 6 months to a year to get everything in order, and then it should start to really run smoothly, and new things will happen in the green direction. It will happen. The ecology of the planet has got to change, and of the United States as well, and there's going to be things happening that's just going to make it so, whether that's, the big wind turbines, or if it has to do with letting the gas-guzzling machines go, whatever it's going to be, building houses and homes in better areas where you can have some of the green aspects of it. I mean, there's a lot of architects out there that have this background knowledge in building things green, and they're not allowed to use it because of the way our government is set up currently. But a lot of that's going to change so that we can take advantage of solar and the water and the wind and all of our resources to make that turn around. And it's not going to be that much more expensive to let go of the old and bring on the new. But during this whole process, we're going to reclaim the parks, and we're going to, help with the trees and the animals. It really feels like, yes, it sounds airy-fairy, but it's not. It has to do with appreciating each other, appreciating what we have, counting our blessings, and then taking care of it again. This is a huge lesson for the world to learn, to stop and listen to how much the earth was crying and how much it was bleeding out, and what we need to do to take care of it so that we can sustain and live life here quite quite a few more years, hopefully millennia, but beyond that. So even the foreign governments are going to accept a lot of those new ideas and help us get back on track with some things and support the U.S. again. So there'll be less weather problems, okay? Even though we are moving to a warmer and warmer climate, this pandemic has kind of stopped some of that progress a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit. The ozone had a chance to heal up some. And the thing with the weather is, I don't see as many fires in California or Colorado or New Mexico or Texas. I don't see as many floods, in the southern states like Louisiana and Alabama, Georgia, Florida area. Even though there's going to be hurricanes and whatnot, this next year or two, there's going to be less traffic when it comes to that. Not as many devastations as what we've experienced the last really 7 years. So that's going to be a little bit better or easier for us to handle, and it won't be such a financial cost to the government, and which trickles down to all of us, as we know. And so that way it helps us get back on our feet better financially too. So now when you talk about the spiritual side, and I mean I can go into specific predictions if you want to know.
We have plenty of time. Go ahead. We have plenty of time. Go ahead.
Because there's going to always be turnovers in Hollywood and in the political realm and things like that, But I want to say something real quick about the spiritual side, because I like the fact that on the spiritual side of life, people are coming back to that. And I don't mean religion. I mean the spiritual side of life. They've started to notice how precious life is again, and whether they've lost a loved one or they've seen a friend go through such trauma with a loved one. They just are starting to realize how precious the spirit and the spirit side of life is. And so there's going to be more seeking for meditations or more seeking for that intuitive awareness. There's going to be those that will be trying, they don't want to become psychic. They want to become in the realm of telecommunication and teleportation and ETs. And by the way, I did see where someone had posted that they've got 90 days to release all of the files on ET information. So we'll see if that comes to fruition or not.
Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
The government is supposed to release all the rest of whatever they're holding back on the ET. That was part of the last $600 payout to everybody. In that bill, there is a exception there that deals with ETs and the knowledge of what the communication, who we've had communication from, who we're communicating with, who's actually landed on the planet, and who's coming in, and what's actually been going on over the last 50 to 100 years when it comes to ETs.
Got it.
And so it's kind of exciting to know that they have to release that information, and we could actually find out for ourselves, that of course most of us already know and understand it to be, but it's nice to have that opportunity to see what the government or foreign governments have communicated, that kind of thing. So that's fun, and that's something that I find exciting, even more so than ghost busting. I find ETs kind of exciting because of the spiritual side of it, because I know they use telecommunication, right? And as far as just telekinesis and just shape-shifting and teleportation and all that, that to me is exciting to have that. I also, on that same kind of spiritual realm, and I know I kind of shifted ET spiritual together, and it's not the same at all, but you will notice there are a lot of Native American individuals that have run for office over the last several years and have been accepted, won, and are now in office. And you're going to see a shift back to some of those beliefs and those thoughts and those connections and the acceptance of people of all color, on a different and better level, but also the fact of walking the shaman's way. So just kind of learning how, because basically that comes to the facts of how to learn how to be intuitive, or learn how to accept, or don't take advantage of the ecology, or the animals, or the wildlife and the flora and fauna, I guess. So there's going to be more of a shift back to learning lessons that's been handed down from maybe tribal individuals, family members, things like that, and people are going to be seeking those higher realms and those higher connections. I do feel like we'll see more and more of that open back up. So, and I definitely feel like people are going to start to travel more starting late spring, maybe April, May, June. You're not going to be able to stop them, but at least they'll have their vaccines, hopefully, and they'll be able to do it. So some of the businesses will never come back. It's just not going to happen. They lost too much, and they had to jump when they could and save themselves, and I don't blame them. But what they've done is create something new to help suffice and pay their bills and get things moving in a better direction. So that's always a positive. And the one thing about that is there's going to be many businesses that will sustain or come back online, come back out. So we have storefronts and things again. But the biggest thing is that there's going to be so many new ones. This is changing our technology. It has. And that is something that I have said since the beginning of this. Our technology is going to soar, completely take a huge shift and jump forward, and we're going to be doing everything differently, technologically based. And that has already started to happen. It started happening last April, May, June, and it's going to continue until, and I'm not talking about those that might be afraid of the 5G and all that. It has nothing to do with something just that narrow in connection with. It really is, it has to do with every part of technology that you have in your home, from flushing the toilet to remote changer for your TV. Everything is changing and shifting. Your watch, your phones, all of that is shifting, and it's going to continue to do that. So I don't do a whole lot of salacious stuff as far as that goes, but there's always those that are going to come out from behind the glass curtain kind of thing and expose themselves in ways that none of us want to see, but it's going to happen. We know it is. I did feel like there was going to be a foreign government fall, boy, it's going to be a big topple. It'll be a big topple. And it looks more like, it's not Ukraine, it's more like Russia would fall. And it's going to be hard, but there's been so many attacks from that direction to so many different countries that it's kind of a united scenario that we've got to change the power there. So it's a concerted, united effort to make things happen to where that's going to change. And it may take 2 to 5 years, but it will change. It will shift and change. You'll see more land mass appear and some disappear. But I've always waited for Lemuria or Mu to show up. I don't think Mu will. But Lemuria may still make a rise out there in the Pacific, and that would be kind of fun. I do still feel that it's there, and they'll find some things associated to it within the next year or two. So that's always kind of exciting. But and of course they're going to come across a language that is more like a legend for languages that was left behind, that will seem a bit eerie only in the fact that it not only will have a language that we can decipher and understand currently, but it will be the key code to understanding the different scripts and signs and symbols that were left thousands and thousands of years ago by visitors. So I do feel like they've been looking for something along those lines of Dead Sea Scrolls and different things that they had hoped taken them, through the Akhenaten era and the Sumerians. But it really is more about it's really more about finding that key code, that legend, that's going to help us understand languages that we never thought we'd even have a clue about. And that's going to open our eyes greatly. There's also, I know they're doing a lot of crystal work still, but it's really more about using slices of quartz crystal to store data on, where they can store, 100,000 terabytes on one little 1 inch by 1 inch square of quartz crystal. Just think about that. It's just phenomenal, So I do know there's more about that. Like I said, our technology is jumping in so many different ways. And you'll see that there will be people that seem almost as if their heads are bigger in the either frontal lobe or the along the top aspect. Not like it sticks up, but it sticks out more. And that just will tell you that these people are maybe not full human that we think of as human. Maybe there's an integration that's happening. But what's really going on is they're shifting into the light as to who they were supposed to be on this planet and why they came in originally. So that'll be kind of interesting, because everybody has said over time, that there's so many angels and so many among us. There's so many, there's ETs that look like us and walking around us and we don't even know it. Well, we're going to know it. The eyes are going to be shifting a little bit and changing, getting a little bit larger. They'll still be white to the eyes and they'll still have eye color. It's not going to be so drastic that it freaks us all out and we want to string them up somehow, as we do to things that are foreign and we don't understand. But it's really more about the eyes getting just a slight bit larger. The cranial part either will get a little bit larger, or the sides and the top. And it's not, I don't want you to think, oh, she's talking about the grays. No, this is a humanoid, and it does have to do with a cross-genetic thing, but you'll see it because they could be your neighbor, they could be a friend, they could be somebody that you've known all along, and now there's been something that's awakened within them, the call of the wild from their home planet from, eons ago, that now they're awakening. And it's a kind awakening. It's not a revolution. Okay, now are there those that probably would like to see the demise of the planet? Absolutely. There's humans that want that. But unfortunately, that's not the way we're going to be going. It feels more peaceful. It feels more colorful. The colors will be brighter. You'll be able to hear the colors. You'll be able to taste the sounds. You'll be able to, speak in ways that you never thought you could. So this is totally different. We're in a new path. We are starting and embarking in a new direction. We just had to kind of get rid of things that were holding us back. And that, sometimes that has to do with greed and power and just closed-mindedness. But we've awakened, and we're going to continue to stay awake. And that's the beauty of it. We're going to have a chance to kind of open the door and communicate with each other and not be so angry. Is there going to be a revolution? There's still those that are going to push over the next, 2 to 6 weeks, like I said, to try to push for a shift, to change, cause some headaches for a lot of people. And there's going to be loss of life and gunfire and just stuff, but it's not in every city and town. It's just select areas where they're trying to push their agenda. It'll be quelled quickly. And then we can all get on to business and life and eradicating the COVID as we know it, even though it's going to mutate another few times. But they'll catch up to it. Our scientists are smarter. They're catching on quicker. And they're going to find out that the original COVID came from Russia. It was planted right across the border in Wuhan, China. It did not come from Wuhan, China. It was released there first by Russian agents. And they're going to figure it out. They'll find it. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a prediction. So I don't want you guys going out there, where'd you know that? Find that. It's a prediction. And just know that a lot of foreign leaders, many, hundreds, are going to come together and embrace the new ideals, the new directions, and it's going to stop a lot of the weather patterns that have been disruptive all over the world. It's going to stop a lot of the oceans and the animals and the sea life and whatnot from having issues with the way we are trying to destroy our water and our land. So, it's just kind of sit back, do your meditation, put your peace energy out there, put your love energy out there, see your aura, embrace other energies, and see where it's going to open the door for you, because count your blessings. It's getting ready to happen, and I bet you won't be able to keep track. That's what I got to say.
That's your story, and you're sticking to it, huh?
I am today. Might change it tomorrow. No.
Might change it tomorrow. Well, I tell you what, we're going to take a break. That was a lot of information to take in. And we're going to play some more music by Daniel Paul. This one is called Radha Ramana, from his album Elephant Prayers. And we'll be back in a few minutes. And then we're going to let Reverend Marietta White take over. Actually, I just remember with this song, I want to send out love, blessings, healings, angels of light and love to all the homeless people out there, for sure, to all the animals out there, especially the homeless ones, and of course to you, Reverend Marietta White and Darla Diamond, and your families and friends, and of course to my family and friends. Anything else you guys want to add to that? Oh, I want to add love, blessings, healings, angels of light and love to the Joe Biden's president-elect inauguration next week. In that everything's peaceful, in harmony, and no major riots or anything like that. Anything else y'all want to add to that?
Boy, I think you pretty well covered it.
All right.
Well, yeah, that was nice. That was nice, Andrew. I might just quickly say, yes, I don't think there'll be a problem during his inauguration, but I do feel like afterward there's still those that are not nice, that are still planning and plotting, and they'll learn their lessons the way they have to. But yes, peace be still with Kamala Harris and President-elect Joe Biden, and we wish them well, and let's hold the light. Hold the light around them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right.
Okay, Daniel Paul from his album Elephant Prayers, Radha Ramana. And we're back. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona, with Spiritual Image Productions on Facebook Live with the Golden Age, the annual Golden Age Psychic Prediction Show. And tonight we have psychics Reverend Marietta White and also Darla Diamond doing predictions as well as myself. So anyhow, we just had predictions done by Darla Diamond, and if you want to catch the replay on that, we'll be replaying this a little bit later on. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and go to Reverend Marietta White and let her do her predictions for the year. Thanks, Marietta.
Hi, everyone. I was kind of surprised. I thought Darla and I actually aren't that far apart on a lot of issues, so I thought that was interesting to listen to her prophecies. That was very interesting. I want to start a little differently. I was thinking a lot about prophecies, and I thought, wouldn't it be interesting to see some prophecies that came through? And the one that came to me was the Hopi prophecy. And I think it's very relevant because I agree with Darla. There's going to be a lot going on in the future with minorities and those who have been left behind by our government, and I think it's going to be a big change in things for our American Indians. But I wanted to give just a real brief, and you can look this all up online. You can go online and look it up. There are a few books out that have published the prophecies. just so anybody can, if they want to look it up and see for themselves. There's a lot more to it, and I can't, I don't have time to do all that tonight. But I just thought it would be interesting to hear some and just realize how close they come to things that have already happened. And the Hopi prophecies go back, they're really ancient, they've been passed down through the years and through generation on generation. A lot of different indigenous tribes, both here and in other countries, also have very similar prophecies. So I want to just give you a few of them. The first sign, let's see if I can remember, I want to remember the man that did it. I can't think of his name right now, it'll come to me in a minute, but the Hopi prophecies, it says that we have completed most of what they call the fourth world, and that will be ending soon, and we're going to be moving into what's called the fifth world, which will be a whole new beginning for our Earth, and a lot of changes that will come through. It'll be a little rough at the end, but then it'll be much better world, and very similar to what Darla said about things will get a lot better, more Earth-based, positive things going on. So the first sign they had is we are told of the coming of the white-skinned man, but not living like the Pahana. And the Pahana is their kind of interpretation of who we might call Jesus. For the Christians, Pahana was who they looked to, but his messages were very similar to Jesus of peace and all that kind of thing. So it says we are told of the coming of the white-skinned man, but not living like Pahana. But not living like Pahana men who took the land that was not theirs, the men who struck their enemies with thunder. And they're referring to the white man coming here and the gun, so that prophecy came true. The second sign was our lands will see the coming of spinning wheels filled with voices. White men bringing their families in wagons across the prairies, and that came true. The third sign was a strange beast like the buffalo, but with great long horns will overrun the land in large numbers. And they were referring to what happened to cattle coming. Then the fourth was the land will be crossed by snakes of iron. And that became the train tracks that crossed our land, our continent. Then the fifth sign was the land shall be crisscrossed by a giant spider's web. And that became known as the telephones and the internet. And the sixth sign was the land shall be crisscrossed by rivers of stone, and that's now known to be the road. The seventh sign you will hear of the sea turning black, and many living things dying because of it. And if you think about that, that's what's happening now. We have the oil spills changing the color of the water. We have all the pollution going on. Sea creatures are in great danger, so that's something we are definitely going to have to look at. So we have just pretty much completed that sign. The eighth sign, so now we're getting into things we might not have yet. The eighth sign is you will see many youth who wear their hair long, like my people, come and join the tribal nations to learn their ways and wisdom. And what Darla said is very similar to what's going on right now. There's a lot of people going into drumming circles and meditation circles and studying the old ways, the indigenous ways, and back to the basics. Even planting a company, Baker Creek, sow seeds, and it explains that a lot of their seeds are from ancient tribes, and they tell what tribes and what years they were planted in. So even that, moving back to more basic food. Canada, U.S., and South American natives are sharing and teaching their understanding and ways of healing, peace, and belief. And even the hair on men are wearing beards now, and the hair's starting to get longer, and some of the guys now are wearing man buns and stuff, so their hair is so that's all taking place as well.
It's funny, Marietta. It's funny because I recently decided I wanted to grow my hair long again, so it's funny that you would say that.
Well, I'm seeing that happening. I have noticed quite a few people are starting to wear their hair longer. Of course, some of it might be they just can't go to the barbershop, but I am seeing that. Also, it used to be that Native Americans wouldn't share, and also some of the other, from the other, Canada and whatnot, wouldn't share their private secrets and their information, and that's starting to come out, and they're starting to teach it. And so myself, and I'm sure that's happening with others, are noticing that a lot of people are getting into that sort of thing and really starting to learn the more native way of life and the more peaceful. And we've got groups coming down from Canada. We're in New York. We've got groups of ladies coming down from a couple of tribes in Canada and coming down and teaching the women in our area. So a lot of that's happening, and that was the 8th sign. The 9th sign is, now this is where it gets a little different. The ninth sign, you will hear of a dwelling place in the heavens above the earth that shall fall with a great crash. It will appear as a blue star. They also refer several times to a blue star. And I'm not sure if this is something that is to come or something that's already come. But I'm a MUFON field investigator, which means I research UFOs, so I kind of perked up when Darla mentioned that too. But when an item falls from the sky, like a satellite, it actually appears as a blue streak in the sky. We have had some things fall already, so I don't know if that means that sign is already taken place or if we've got something else to come. And then it says the white man will battle against, and this is going into the times, the white man will battle against other people in other lands with those who possessed the first light of wisdom. Now, the first areas that they look at for first light of wisdom are Africa, some parts of China, but going up into Iraq and Iran, so we're already, got some battles going on in those general areas, and they are the areas that are considered to be, the first places where all kinds of religions and things have come out of. And those who come will cause disease and a great dying. And I thought, doesn't that sound like COVID? Those, we've got a war going on in several parts of the world, and and here, and it says they will bring disease, and that sounds an awful lot like what Darla had, where she said it was more of a plant than an accident, and that was exactly what's in that prophecy. So I just thought that was really interesting. And it says, those who understand the prophecies shall be safe. There will be much to rebuild, which we're definitely going to have a lot of rebuilding. Very soon after there will be a dawning of a 5th world. Kahana will return, and he shall plant the seeds of wisdom in their hearts. I just thought that was really interesting. One of the references for that, you can look up Reverend David Young. He was one of them that published some information on it. There's similar prophecies by many natives, different tribes, some that weren't even connected with each other. There was a Robert Ghost Wolf that had a similar prophecy. Sun Bear of the Chippewa Bear tribe. Digananda Wida, Holy Man of the Canadian Iroquois. They all had that. And then I didn't go any further on anything else except that just to mention, if you're not aware, Sylvia Brown, B-R-O-W-N-E, who is a great American psychic, did a lot of research on past life and things like that.
I actually met her in Sacramento years ago.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I didn't really know who she was. I just talked to her for a little bit, and she told me she was a psychic, and I think she was doing readings at some kind of expo.
She had a really interesting history, because what she did is she hired people when she first got going. She hired people, and she would have her or some of her circle would do past life regressions, and then she hired people to research and see if they really could tie anything into that and prove the past life regression, that those things actually happened. So she had that was kind of interesting, that she actually proved a lot of the readings that came through, that the people really existed. But she also predicted the pandemic, and she predicted it right to the year. And she said, and I wish I had my book on it, but I don't have it right now, but I found it out. But she also said that she foreseen people wearing masks and coverings over their clothing due to the pandemic. She talked all about it. The only thing that she said, it would end abruptly, and I don't think that's going to happen, but who knows? Maybe it will.
Yeah,
but
she
anyway,
said it was going to be short-lived. The pandemic was going to be short-lived, and then it was going to come back in about 10 years. But I think that's off base to some extent. I'm not sure, but that's what it seems like. But go ahead.
Yeah, it was something along those lines. But I just thought it was so amazing that she had it right to the year. Because anybody who does prophecy, the biggest problem when you read prophecies of other people that are from the past is hitting the date. Because when you're getting information from the other side, their times are different than ours. They don't function on our clocks.
Exactly.
And so lots of times what I've noticed is prophecy will be there, but it'll actually happen much later usually than what that person predicted. They might give a prediction, and then maybe it's going to be 10 years later instead of the year they thought. So I just noticed that in different times. So anyway, now getting on to I'm going to start right out with the pandemic. I don't exactly agree on that, but maybe my interpretation could be wrong too. When we're getting these messages, what people don't realize is we have to interpret them. They don't always come in just like on TV with telling us, or like we read it in a book. We have to get that message, and then we have to bring it into reality and interpret it. And so sometimes our interpretations may not be exactly as what's sent in. So any psychic reading is always going to have that little if factor that maybe we're not going to be 100% accurate. Okay, I'm going to look at the pandemic, and what I got with that was I felt that vaccinations and the end will be slow in coming. I don't think it's going to be real fast. It will speed up vaccinations beginning around May, but because of so much misinformation, many will be misguided and refuse to be vaccinated, which will ultimately slow the overall recovery and will lead to thousands of more deaths before we get through this. I don't see things smoothing out overall, the whole saying of everybody back to work and everything. I don't see that happening until actually going into the 2022. It'll start improving, but I think we're going to have a lot of recovery to make. There will still be a lot of political unrest, which will slow overall the recovery, and the movement toward a form of normalcy will begin. It will take place. Also with the virus, I see many health issues that will surface as late as 20 to 30 years later. People who had no symptoms and those who recovered, and especially children, will later develop symptoms, especially heart, lung, mental, or immune problems. They won't all have the same thing, but they will develop things as a result of it. And this disease it's a disease that will go dormant, and then it will resurface. So I kind of agreed with, who was that? You said?
Sylvia Brown.
That said that it was...
You were talking about her.
I didn't know that. She said...
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know she... But yeah, I see it coming back too, but I see it coming back in a different way. I think it's going to come back in as other health issues. It's like it's in the body and it's going to attack other parts of the body. And I think those who had, not just the ones that recovered, but also those who had, had it but didn't really show any symptoms are going to see it. And another thing to just kind of put that in perspective, my husband had polio. His family, and I keep telling people, get your vaccination. His family did not believe in vaccinations. That we went through a period with polio where it's the same kind of thing as COVID, where people wouldn't get vaccinated. They were afraid of the vaccinations. And so his entire family and extended family wouldn't get the vaccinations. What happened is most of them got polio. Many of them were crippled. Some died. My husband had polio as a child. He was I think he was 12, something like that, when he had it. The problem with polio was that people recovered. He recovered, seemed perfectly fine, but it comes back on them. So 30 years down the road, people who had polio often get some kind of symptoms later. He died a young man in his 30s from polio, but it had come back on him, and it affected his heart. And so when it came back, it wasn't the polio symptom, but it caused his heart to have problems. So I see the same thing happening with this. It's going to be an ongoing thing for a while, I think. Another thing, dealing with medical, I thought I'd jump right into this one too. Starting this year, and I think Biden will have something to do with this, but taking at least 5 years, a push to get control of big pharma and insurance companies. They are sitting on cures, especially for cancer, but so much of our economy is tied to it that there is a strong resistance. Just kind of think about all the money that's tied up in that has to do with cancer, or heart problems, other diseases, health issues. Hospitals make money on it. All your nurses and doctors, drug sales, doctors, rehab. All of those people are tied to, not knowingly, of course, but they're actually tied to keeping cancer going. If they suddenly cure cancer, a lot of people are out of work. This is the same reason we haven't done anything about the drug and alcohol problems in our country.
Right.
Because there's money tied up in making money off drugs and alcohol, and not necessarily the illegal drugs, but the medical drugs.
Let me ask you this, Marietta. Let me ask you this, and Darla, do you think that there's a cure, that Big Pharma has a cure for diabetes already?
Yeah. I think they've got a lot of cures. I've said that for
many of the
30 years.
Yeah. They have a cure, and they also know that the medicines that they give us don't really do anything. They give us
exactly.
the Band-Aid.
Yep, that's exactly right.
They want to keep it going. It's a terrible thing to look at, but they want to keep us sick, because if everybody's healthy, a lot of businesses go under.
Because you guys just confirmed.
These pharmacies, the companies are making huge amounts of money
off of insulin. Yeah, exactly.
There's no incentive for them to, stop producing medicine, for example, and they're big lobbying units. Take the recent one with the powder. What was their company? It's the same one that's making one of the vaccines, actually. The powder that caused
Johnson & Johnson?
What is that?
Johnson & Johnson?
Or Pfizer.
Johnson & Johnson, yeah. They knew for years that it was killing people and causing cancer, but they kept right on producing it because they made a lot of money. And I'm sure that probably what they have to pay in the end probably isn't anywhere near what they really made on it. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of the sad thing.
You guys just confirmed what I've known for, I don't know, it just hit me like a rock about two or 3 years ago, and come to find out there's one cure, at least one cure that was produced about 5 years ago, is from what I understand, that really does a number on diabetes, and they don't want to come out with it.
I believe that. Yeah, everything indicates that they definitely don't try to heal, I mean, they even know that a lot of, and I'm going to get to that in a bit, but they even know that a lot of natural healing things work, but insurance doesn't want to cover it because, it's not tied up to making money.
Exactly.
A lot of those things that people, cured with for many, many years, all of a sudden, were, when they discovered making money off medicines and pills and things, all of a sudden those things weren't legal. And it doesn't make sense to look at only one thing. But
right.
Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much what I got on medical. I've got a little more here later on, but...
We got plenty of time, so whatever you want to put out there, Marietta, go ahead.
I will. I'm going to go back to that in a second because I'm going to tie it in a little different way. I also looked at education, and I think there's going to be a big upheaval in education and how things are done. It's going to be a slow process, but it will change. More people who there'll be a lot more people who choose to homeschool. They will move away from the big warehouses for children, for schools. Going to start back to more smaller schools. It will happen in a way that makes it a lot safer for them. There won't be that incentive for somebody to come in and start shooting up the whole school and that sort of thing. They're going to move to smaller schools, which will be easier to maintain, easier for parents to be involved. They don't need the big schools anymore. When they consolidated, they went into the big schools for the sake of having libraries and access to books and things like that. They don't need that anymore. We've got computers. We don't need to go to a special place anymore.
And you know what's funny, Marietta? We're getting ready to launch into living in space, like by the community boatloads, right? And so years ago, when I graduated from Northern Arizona University, I took another class afterwards, curriculum design for the internet, and I literally designed a classroom for going to school in space, literally. And I thought I told you about this, but anyhow, I went ahead and copyrighted it and tried to trademark it, but all that disappeared.
Yeah.
And guess who adopted the school that I built, the online school, Northern Arizona University. The guy that was teaching the class, and I literally went into his classroom, physically went into his classroom, and looked at the classroom, and sure enough, it was the exact same model that I designed, different fonts, different colors, but it was exact same model, and now, and of course, NAU adopted it, and guess who sponsored it? NASA. NASA sponsored it, and I have a witness, at least one witness, that's seen everything transpire. And I don't know if he's still living in Sedona, but anyhow, he was working for some kind of I can't remember, sales thing out in Sedona. So anyhow, and now that I believe, if I'm correct, that same classroom was being used for all the students now because of this pandemic, and they probably sold or gave that same model to other schools. I can bet you money they did, and of course they never credited me, but it was literally for the purpose of education. But go ahead, sorry.
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think that's going to be a big movement since people have tried it. I mean, the media tries to knock it all the time about how terrible it is, the kids are learning at home and stuff. But when I talk to people, it's not exactly portrayed that way. What's going on is it's just plain boring, the way they're teaching.
Well, okay, yeah. And I can say that was a compliment, because I didn't have the money to launch all that and the connections. So and that's happened to me a few other times in other places and other schools, but that's besides the point. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. I'm going to mention on that just a little bit here. Back to smaller schools in home communities will help end the tension and allow parents to be more involved with their children, because we've had a real breakdown in parents raising their children because the schools have sort of taken over and they take all their time, and there isn't a lot of interaction with the parents anymore between that and parents working. So I'm kind of hopeful that they will make a way for parents to be home with their children a little more too. It will break down, going into the smaller schools will break down the occurrences of gangs, because right now when you put a bunch of kids together all the same age together, you're encouraging trouble. You're just asking for trouble when you put them together in huge groups. It's just not normal. You're never in your life going to be working when you get out and work with everybody that's all the same age as you. And so they just don't even know how to communicate with other people anymore, other ages. Teachers will be taught better ways to teach online, which is apparently what you do. Let's face it, if classes were interesting, kids would be paying attention, which tells you that the classroom teaching isn't interesting either. They're just a captive audience when they're in the classroom. You can't pull a kid off a TV set or off a cell phone, playing a game or something. Why is it that they're bored with the teaching that's coming through? It's because it's not effective. They need to modernize it, and I think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a very slow call, because much of our educators are elderly or older, and I think it's going to be a slow call to get people to change. School education needs to be more entertainment-based and a lot less boring. The methods for teaching is only causing children to be stressed and cause mental issues. We have had a huge increase in mental issues with children now, to the point that they keep adding more psychiatrists and counselors to the schools. That's not the answer. We need to correct how they're taught and how they're treated, so that they're not just fed a bunch of numbers all the time. The importance will become more obvious, and education will improve. They need to take education out of the dark ages and let it catch up to society, and this will happen slowly. And if you think about it, if you take somebody from way back in history and take them into a classroom, they're going to recognize what's going on there because nothing has changed. It's all been taught the same way for centuries. So it really has to be modernized, and I think that's going to happen. Moving on to housing, more awareness of the poor and underpaid, which Darla touched on. There will be a movement for the acceptance of tiny houses. I think that's going to become, right now they're illegal most places. You know, counties don't want them in their areas and all kinds of excuses. I think the tiny house movement's going to really catch on. If you think about it, people rent apartments that only have 2 rooms. Why can't they live in the tiny house that only has 2 rooms? You know, at least they'd have a house. The time of people living in homes that are much larger than they need, filled with all the extras, will be frowned on, and I think that's going to happen also. We've kind of reached the limit of extravagance, and people are going to go back more toward basics, and that's a way of healing the earth, is to not have this huge footprint of ours on the earth. As a part of purifying the earth, people will desire a more basic life that leaves a gently blue footprint on the earth. And tiny houses, solar, back to basics, windmills, all those things will be the new normal, because people are going to have a real push to go back. Not so much go back, but learn from the past and use that in the present to make the earth healthier, cleaner, and for them to be healthier and live a more peaceful life. A lot of people, I've talked to a few people who mentioned, you know, since they didn't, you know, they had big paydays and now they don't have them, you know, they're out of work, but they're saying they're so surprised that they can actually live on a lot less than what they had, even though there's a lot of people suffering, so I'm not knocking that at all. But the fact is they discovered they didn't need to eat out every day, and maybe they didn't need to keep 2 cars on the road and things like that. They've learned that it's actually, you know, fun to be with family once in a while and things like that. People are going to move toward living sustainably. They're going to, a lot more planting of gardens and local places to garden will open up. More cooking at home. I found it interesting that when I was helping my son get an appraisal on his house, because I also used to be a realtor, and he's in another state, but I was pulling up comps and stuff, and I found it interesting that all the houses that had come out in more recent years had little tiny, very unusable kitchens. And that was, you know, the people moved away from using a kitchen, away from cooking. You know, everything just got popped into the microwave, and that was it. But now people are starting to cook again, and they're starting to learn those skills that a lot of them never learned. And I think that's going to keep with us. People are going to use that as another way.
Well, yeah, you can eat healthier a lot of times by cooking at home, but and I think there's already a community here in Flagstaff of little small houses already. There's I don't know how many houses there are. I haven't gone to see it yet, but when I get a chance I will. But I think they already have a little.
I think you're going to see a lot of that. You're also going to see a lot of people living. I don't want to say in campers, but I mean there's a movement with the boondockers, and the boondockers take school buses and turn them into houses, and stuff like that. I think you're going to see, you know, people becoming mobile, but also people not tied to a particular location at all. They're going to be free to do what they want to do, go where they want to go, and they're going to live much smaller, you know, not needing all those extra necessities that they thought they needed from having a big house with, you know, 3 bedrooms and 2 baths and all that. For the coming year, I'm going to suggest that everybody stock their pantries with necessities, as many things will be in scarce supply for the next year. I think it will last for 2 years, where a lot of things will be a little harder to get, because you're going to have, you know, with people dying, you also have lots of people to garden. With keeping immigrants out, we don't have anybody to pick the gardens and to do farming. You know, a lot of those people coming in work for $25 a week. Well, you know, our guys aren't going to do that.
Right.
I think, that sort of thing. And so a lot of these farmers that, don't have enough coming in, because farmers get very little profit off what they produce, they're not going to be able to get by either. So you're going to see a lot of close downs of farmers and a lot of less, manufacturing. And there's also a big danger with these big factory farms, because the big factory farms are producing, a huge amount of things, but if one of them goes down, it's also a huge loss of production of what, goes out in whatever it is that they're making. So there's going to be a change in that. There's also going to be a change in the factory farms of cruelty to animals. There's an awful lot of that. And they're going to start really a movement against those kinds of things, like pigs being kept in a cage they can't even turn around in, and, all the hormones being stuck in the animals and stuff. So a lot of things, people are going to start being more aware of what they're eating and what it causes the health issues to them, for one thing. So that sort of thing I think is going to happen. But in the next years, I think we need to be careful to make sure we keep our pantries full, just to prepare for, any time of shortages of anything. They're jumping a little bit, referring to the ice melts that's going on in, like, the Arctic, Antarctica. There will come to be a realization that, and this may tie in with what Darla said also, there will come to be a realization that ancient civilizations were in fact more advanced than we are. It will also uncover relics of unknown civilizations and dinosaurs with viable DNA. So I feel that eventually, I don't really think it's a great thing, but I think the viable DNA, they're certainly going to try to clone some of them. I think they may have already tried that with the mastodon. I don't know if it was successful or not. I also think that the waters are still going to keep rising. It's going to rise for quite a while. I think a lot of your luxury hotels that are perched right on the edge of the oceans might regret their location. I think they're going to lose a lot of their shore, and possibly some of them even end up in the water. So I see that happening too. The next thing I looked at was TV. Over the next couple of years, people will start realizing that all the violence in video games and TV programs, rape, violence, theft, all kinds of abuse, drug abuse and things, they're all right out there on the TV all the time, 24/7. You can hardly find any shows that don't have them in. I think people are going to start realizing that they're actually, affecting especially our younger people, and causing them to not have a problem with those kind of things and not have the compassion and stuff that they should have. And I think we'll see slowly a move back to less violence and more family values on those kind of programs on TV. Another one that came in, and I've kind of been following this too, so it just kind of is kind of a no-brainer. I think there's going to be a big awareness that we haven't been aware of the sex trafficking of children. It will come to the forefront with many big names being taken down, and this will reach far into the head names in our government, also the governments of Europe and Israel. These people are being shielded at present, but I think the walls will begin to crack. People are going to start really realizing that this is going on. So when a child comes up missing, or a teenager or something, it's going to be paid more attention to. The tendency has been to blow it off and say, oh, that kid ran away or something, and it's more than likely a lot of them have been sex trafficked, and it's becoming more aware. And I think that's going to happen, but it's going to be very surprising, some of the names that turn up. And a lot of things will be tied to Epstein and his trafficking thing, and it's also going to be tied to the state of Ohio.
Wow.
A lot of children being put through that state before they're sent other places.
Because I did some research on some of that, and in fact I want to do a whole show on that and internet romance and cults. But in that research I discovered too that a lot of that stuff is going on in Europe. You're right, big time.
It's going on here too. Just as an aside, how I became aware of it, I had a teenager living with me, And I took him to the doctor for his yearly physical, and the doctor asked me to step out. And I've never been asked to leave the room before. And when I came back, I said, why did I have to leave? And she says, we now have a policy where we have to ask every child to make sure that they aren't being trafficked.
Wow.
And so that was the purpose of having someone leave. And I thought, wow, I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, me neither.
I had the opportunity to talk to, I believe it was a state trooper, state police. And in our conversation, I threw that out. And I said, is there anything like that going on? He says, oh, yeah. And he was adamant about that there was a lot of it going on. But it's just, still undercover right now.
Yeah.
They have busted a lot of people. They had 121 teens rescued in Ohio just recently, but Ohio's going to end up being the hub, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
It's going to come through New York, but yeah, Ohio's going to be the hub. Okay, computers, I agreed with Darla on this one too. There will be computers for everything. Everything will work verbally. Doors, toilets, food preparation, restaurants, cars, stoves. Very soon everything will work that way, and it'll be verbal. It won't be pushing the button. It'll be verbal commands that do it, and then in a pretty quick period of time. They'll string it out a little because they want to make money, but it won't be all that long before it'll be mental commands. It won't be verbal. They will figure out a way, so all you have to do is think it and it happens.
Yeah, no kidding.
This will lead to mass unemployment in the end. And again, a back-to-basics movement will become the norm. The people will rebel against this technology, even though it seems impossible that they would. People are going to insist on life where they have more control, and it's going to become more obvious as it interferes with businesses. And if you think about it, not to name anything in particular, but like I buy my groceries at Sam's Club, and they put in a whole bunch of serve yourself at the grocery now, so you have to go through and you don't have anybody checking you out, and they convinced all the employees that they weren't going to lose their jobs. Now think about that. If they all go electronic, I don't know how they're not going to lose their jobs.
No kidding.
I asked some of them, aren't you worried? Oh, no, they told us we won't lose our job. And I'm sitting there thinking, yeah, they just don't want you to quit till they get it all running.
No kidding.
Big business won't go down without a fight. That's going to be a big, thing. Again, I'm going to touch back on the tiny house movement. It'll be back to basics, but everything. Planting food, local businesses, and I agreed with Darla. I think she said something about this too. I have been, years ago, I predicted big box stores would close, and I actually named all of them, and so far there's only been one that hasn't closed that I named. Actually, that might have even been on your show at one point.
Yeah, I remember that.
I can't remember what I did.
It was.
I remember telling everybody this was going to happen. Well, it's happened. A lot of your big box stores are closing. People are out of work from it and things like that. But it's actually going to be a good thing, because what it's going to start is a big resurgence of mom and pop stores, people wanting to buy locally, people wanting to buy handcrafted, things that were grown in your neighborhood. It's actually going to be a good thing. In the end, it'll take a while, probably 2 to 4 or 5 years to get it really rolling, but you're going to see a lot of that. And I think there's going to be a lot of money. If anybody's out there thinking of starting a business, get your plan in place, because I think money is going to be available to start these small businesses, especially if you're a minority. And believe me, even women are considered minorities. So, if you're thinking of starting a business, I think you might want to really get your paperwork in order now, because I think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be too far in the future. Okay, this also agreed with her. I said for the first time in history, we will see slow but steady progress at lessening discrimination and help for the poor. Typically, minorities and women will gain some control by standing united. It's the first time that groups have ever united that were diverse. Always before it was, this group, that group, maybe it was the Latino group or the blacks or something, but they didn't stand together. They're coming together. It's going to make a big difference. And people will stop being quite so prejudiced, because once they see that these people are just like them, a lot of those prejudices will go by the side. I think we're going to have eventually a universal health care, even though people protest about it. It's going to be a while. I don't think it's going to happen right away. I'm kind of thinking 4 to 10 years before it's really in full-fledged thing. But I don't really get the understanding of why people fight that for 2 reasons. I talked to a young man who didn't have insurance, and he's had a couple of operations. And I said to him, and he was railing against, I don't want to have to pay for insurance and all that kind of stuff. And I said, well, if you go in the hospital and have an operation, who pays for it? And he come back with, well, nobody. And I said, no, it's not nobody. We pay for it. It's other people who are paying for insurance pay for somebody who gets operated on or whatever that isn't covered. Somebody's going to pick up that tab. And he just kind of went blank when I said that to him. But people don't think twice, and this used to be a big controversy. People don't think twice about paying for the car insurance now. You automatically pay for it, and that covers everybody. And that's, it's going to be the same thing, but it'll take a while because they've got a lot of bugs to work out of that. I think there's also going to be a movement for people to demand an end to secrecy in the government. All our governments, they seem to have all these secret budgets, and like the government has this humongous, called a black budget, and nobody knows what they're spending money on. And, and then, this week, the $100,000 toilet for, what's her name, Ivana Trump. People want to know where your money's going, and, and I think people are going to start demanding knowing how organizations work, and, if something isn't right, it needs to be out in the open on all levels, local and bigger political things. So I think there's going to be a movement for people demanding it, and it will have some success. I don't think it will have a lot of success, but some. I think 2021 does continue to rage out of control this year. By 2022, it will be much more peaceful as people begin to stop thinking about themselves and begin to stop being so selfish and start thinking more about others. There'll be a lot of peace movements and meditation things and, things like that I think will happen. I think also by 2023, I think there's going to be some laws in place to control news, and it isn't going to be censorship, but a lot of people will call it that, but it's actually, if they lie, they're in trouble. So if they knowingly tell a lie, to incite people or whatever, there's going to be like a big fine or consequences or something. They're going to try to put something like that in place. Canada already has that. If their news people lie, they're in big trouble. We need that here. It's okay to have free speech, but it's not okay to lie, and to incite trouble and all that kind of stuff. Let's see. 2021, I think, will be a rough year, and a lot hinges on whether there are any consequences for Trump and the people who have violated the government and caused all these troubles and things like that. If there's no consequences, if they get away with it, I think we're going to continue to have a lot of upheaval for several years, and a lot of, it might not be all in one place, but there's going to be lots of things going on that really shouldn't be going on. People threatened, heads of states and stuff threatened, and governors and, things like that, where I think that's going to change if they have consequences. But if they just brush it off and slap their hands, like some of our people are trying to ride the boat, both ways and not really have any consequences because they don't want to stand up for knowing things are wrong. That will be, I think that will incite more trouble than if they actually have some consequences for all that. And I'm almost down to the end here. Weather will continue to rage out of control for the next 5 years. Now, I didn't agree with Darla on this. I think we are going to have some more superstorms. I think there's going to be at least one tsunami. Some volcanoes are going to go off. I also see the north has become more tropical. Northern states more tropical. Southern states more cold. I think you're going to see like a polar shift. I'm hoping that it will be a slow shift. I think it's already in progress from some of the science things I've watched. but the climate and everything is changing, and it's not just the because of the pollution and stuff. It just actually is changing somewhat, and the weather is changing, and that's a sign that your planet is tilting, and I think that's what's going on. Clothing, I picked up a thing on clothing today, so I thought, well, this is probably a prophecy too. I think there's going to be a lot less of it. As the U.S. accepts, as other countries have, that the body is natural and that everyone is basically all looks the same. In the next 5 years, clothing option will be more normal. I think you're going to see a lot less, tops and things like that. I think it's almost to that point already, but I think that's going to become more common. And that's pretty common in other countries. I went to a beach in Mexico, a wonderful place, a great place to visit. Isla Mujeres was gorgeous. And it was not like the propaganda we've been told about all the stuff going on there. We found out that bad things going on were all on the other side of the country, not where we were. But I was kind of surprised when I saw there was a few people clothing optional. I didn't realize that that was a normal thing, but apparently it is. Religion, there will be, and this I agreed with her too, there will be a huge spiritual movement, a lot less church and a lot more spiritual. Many church closings will occur, and the churches that survive will be the ones who can adapt and kind of meld the two together. And I think that will happen with some of the churches where, they're not giving up the religion. Spirituality isn't giving up religion. It's just looking at it with a different eye, and a kinder, softer eye, not so critical. Peaceful thinking will prevail, and I think that will happen. Healing, there's a lot of alternative healing. Alternative healing will become a mainstream thing. Reiki, using herbs, essential oils, massage, things like that. A lot of indigenous practices for healing will be used from around the world. They will be studied by scientists and things like that to see what works, what doesn't work, and they're going to find out a lot of these things work. The use of our regular drugstore drugs will be a last resort for doctors instead of the very first thing, and I think that's going to be a really good positive movement. But the government will try to step in and make money from this as well. They will tax all these things and find ways to regulate them so they can make money off them, and then they'll be perfectly fine with it. It's just they don't want to lose any money. But Big Pharma will eventually lose money. We will have a pullback on the space program, moving into space here. I see a pullback on the space program, but a push for sky security. So we're going to come in a little closer, but I think we're going to kind of lay off for a while on the huge race for outer, going to Mars and stuff. We'll have some of it, but I don't think it's going to be as big as they've tried to make it. A lot of money being wasted going someplace else when we haven't even taken care of ourselves. As we move through these hurdles, we will move into the fifth world, which will be more love and caring for others, a healthier, happier place. People more connected to one another and to the earth. That's what's missing right now. A lot of people just have no connection to the earth at all. And I think there's going to be a big change in that, especially people who have had to be stuck in apartments during this COVID thing. They're going to start realizing they really want to be out in nature a little bit. More positive learning from our ancestors and learning those kinds of lessons that were handed down through centuries. We will succeed at stopping climate change, but it won't be easy, and it will take time. And that's kind of the end of what I had. So
that's your story? That's your story, and you're sticking to it?
It's
all right,
my
so...
story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right. So let's go like this. Let's take another break. That was a lot of information. And we're going to play some more Daniel Paul, Elephant Prayers music. I think we're going to play Om Namah Shivaya. No, I'm going to play Jaya Radhe Radhe. Is there anyone that you want to send out love, blessings, healings, angels of light and love to right now?
All the people who are suffering as a result of COVID, either a family loss of jobs, anything to do with that, and also to people that had to go through the terror in the, that went on this week or any future things. That's who I would want to send it to.
Okay. Anyone else in need and concern? And we will be back. Jaya Radhe Radhe by Daniel Paul from his album Elephant Prayers. And we're back. This is Andrew Aloha Live out of Flagstaff, Arizona. The Spiritual Image Productions on Facebook Live with the Golden Age Annual Psychic Prediction Show with Reverend Marietta White, and doing readings or predictions. So now it's my turn, and I guess it's just as well because I'm going to be doing an astrological version of these predictions, and I think Darla, and I don't remember if you did as well, but a lot of this pandemic stuff is going to be pushing into the end of the year. I agree with y'all, and but I believe that once when was it December, I believe at the end of December, when Jupiter goes into Pisces for healing on December 30th through May 10th of next year, I think it's going to shift all that pandemic stuff, and we're going to be in a lot better shape. Now, overall, I believe that this is going to be a really good year, believe it or not. Now, last year, I believe, let me make sure, I'm going to check this, and I'm going to try to make this comprehensible so you can understand it. Last year, I believe that the pandemic is I attribute it to Neptune and Pisces. So, and Pisces has to do with confinement, with hospitals, and stuff like that. So, Neptune literally was in Pisces from it was direct in Pisces. It was in the middle of its energy in November, late November, November 27th, I believe. It was in the middle of the energy of Pisces, and then I believe that's when the pandemic started. Well, and maybe even before then, but officially, I believe that's when it started, and it kept pushing and pushing, and then March it really got it got officially recognized, and then in June of last year, Neptune went retrograde. I believe it was June 23rd that Neptune went retrograde. Now, once it went retrograde, you notice that the pandemic started to chill out, right? And so, and then in November of November 29th, I believe, Neptune went back into Pisces direct. And I told people, I said, I'll bet you that pandemic is going to start kicking up again. And sure enough, that's what's been happening since then. Since November 29th, the pandemic has been kicking up and causing problems for people. Now, Neptune is going to go retrograde again on June 25th. And when that happens, I think the pandemic is going to really chill out again. It's going to be retrograde up until the 30th of November, and then it's going to go direct. But what's going to happen, I think, what's going to happen is at the end of December, there'll be a 3 or 4 weeks of shifting going on, but Jupiter is going to go into Pisces. Again, Jupiter is going to go into Pisces at the end of December, December 30th. When that happens, I think there's going to be a lot of healing going on with the pandemic, and things. I think the pandemic is going to officially go away finally. That's what I think. And even though Neptune is direct, Jupiter is going to be there to help balance the energies and deal with the pandemic in a much healthier, better way, which is, I think, is going to happen. Actually, up until May. Now, May of next year, Jupiter is going to go into Aries, and Neptune is still going to be direct until June 29th. Neptune's going to go retrograde on June 29th of next year, and I think that pandemic is finally going to start to fizzle out. That's what I think. So anyhow, next year is going to be a really good year for relationships. So if you've been wanting to ask that guy out or that woman out, this year is the year to do it. Muster up enough of bravery and kahunas to ask those people out, and I have the feeling you might be surprised, because typically Venus goes retrograde at least once throughout the year. I think for like 2 or 3 weeks, and when that happens, that throws a lot of stuff off, right? So I believe that and Jupiter is going to be direct pretty much most of the year this year. I think until the end in December, and then there's going to be some stuff brewing up from that. But in the meantime, I think this year is going to be a good. I think a lot of babies are going to be made this year, more than usual. I think that's what's going to happen. But that's besides the point. Let me think. Now, I agree with Reverend White and Darla that there's going to be a shifting going on like no tomorrow, and like this is all a preparation for 2023. There's going to be a huge party March 2023. In fact, the whole year of 2023 is going to be a huge party. I think we're finally going to hanker down and get control of everything that's going on, all the crap that's going on, and I think we're going to be in a whole lot better shape. Now, just for the record, and I'm going to say this again. I've already said this once, at least once. It's funny because there was at least 4 or 5 time travelers, so-called time travelers, right? And they every one of them said that Trump was going to become president of the United States again. Every one of them. And they go, oh yeah, Trump is going to be president of the United States again. I don't know if they were paid to do that or what the deal is, but I said this. I said it doesn't matter that these time travelers had their own experience and all this stuff happened. That doesn't mean it's going to happen to us or for us. It just means that that's where they're at, and that's okay. But just because they experience something doesn't mean we're going to be experiencing the exact same thing. And sure enough, I believe Trump losing the election is a huge milestone, because whatever these people experience, that's going to shift for us, and our future is going to be a whole lot different than what theirs was. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. We're in parallel universes, and again, anything can happen. Anything can happen. So again, this is all preparation for when Pluto goes into Aquarius in March of 2023. When that happens, oh my God, it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. There's going to be a big shift that's going to happen. And it's going to happen. It's going to start 6 months prior to that. Let me see. October 2022, next year. That's when it's going to start to really kick in, and it's going to be a really huge, really the final step in well, not the final, but the big step is going to happen in March 2023. Now, Pluto's going to go out of Capricorn. All these occupy this and occupy that is going to go away. I'm pretty sure the pandemic is going to go away before then. Before October 2022, I'm pretty sure that even if it doesn't go away at the end of this year or June of next year, then I can almost guarantee you 100% that it's going to go away October 2022 for sure. That's what I think. So now the other thing that's going on is Uranus is in Taurus. So a lot of people that are having a hard time with being grounded or with father figures or whatever, you just be calm, right? Just be calm. Remain calm, right? And you'll be fine. Just do some meditations, do some walking, do some exercising, do something that will allow you to breathe easily and freely, and you'll be fine. My Saturn return in Aquarius has been going on for the last several months. So I'm dealing with fears that have to do with relationships, with community, with groups and stuff like that. And probably I've already dealt with a lot of that stuff, so it's not a big deal for me now. But Jupiter's going to be moving around a lot. Jupiter's going to be in Aquarius till May of this year, and then and that's going to be helping to deal with Saturn and Aquarius stuff. And then Jupiter's going to go into Pisces. Oh, I take it back. Jupiter is going to go into Pisces on May 14th through June 19th. When that happens, there's going to be a shift with that pandemic. I can almost guarantee you 100%. And then it's going to go a retrograde again on June 20th through July 28th, and then it's going to go direct again. Oh wait, what? Don't quote me on that because I think I screwed it up. But anyhow, Jupiter is going to be going back and forth, retrograde to direct, and in Aquarius to Pisces. So there's going to be a lot of healing going on with the pandemic and Saturn and Aquarius stuff going on. So Mars is going to be pushing people. On January 7th, it's going to go into Taurus. On 5 March, it's going to go into Gemini. So all you people that like to write and like to communicate, you're going to really, really be doing some talking, but that's besides the point. Now, April 24th, Mars is going to go into Cancer. Now, a lot of people, a lot of you mothers, you're going to be pushed to be mother, like superhero mother, right? So just chill out, relax, and just be a regular mother. You'll be fine. But there's going to be a lot. Typically, when Mars goes into Cancer, a lot of people commit suicide. So you might want to just take a breath. If anything else, get some help or whatever whatever it takes to get you through that phase. It's going to last from April 24th through June 11th, and then Mars is going to go into Leo. There's going to be a lot of singing and stage going on, and then Mars is going to go into a Virgo in July 30th. So a lot of talking, a lot of critical. And if you're a real big critic, just try to hold your breath and not be so critical, because sometimes it's okay to to be a critic for movies or stuff like that, and or debate stuff, but to be really a rude and really criticize people and belittle them with critic is not cool at all. September 16th, Mars goes into Libra. October 31st, Mars goes into to Scorpio. Now, I got to say this, October is going to be a big month. If I was you, for the month of October, I'd take a vacation, I'd chill out and relax. But literally for the whole month of October, I would really quarantine yourself. I think maybe that's a good word. So whatever's happening, and then Mars is going to go into a Scorpio on October 31st, and man, I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of babies made this year, but that's besides the point. More than usual. And then December 14th, Mars goes into Sagittarius. I think around the middle of December, maybe in the beginning, but probably the middle, it's going to be joyous and fun. People are just going to have all kinds of fun. I think that's what's going to happen. That's besides the point. And then again, we have Venus going direct till 18 December. It's direct now, and it's going to be pushing relationships in all kinds of directions, probably good directions, and stuff like that. So it's like that. Again, October, you're going to want to really be chill, maybe quarantine yourself, and then again with the relationships. If you wanted to ask that hot babe out or that stud out, this year is the year to do it for sure. Because there's probably going to be a lot of weddings this year. I can almost bet you money, but that's besides the point. Marietta, is there anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think you pretty well covered it. I think we covered a lot.
We did. And we still got 5 minutes, but there's nobody here to do mini readings for, so we'll just leave it at that. So I'm going to thank you.
In that case, I would just like to add, in case anybody were to want to look up that prophecy, the Hopi prophecy, it was given by White Feather of the Hopi Bear Clan, and it was written. It's on the internet, but also other context for that would be a book written by Frank Waters, and it was told by a David Young, and also another book written by Jochmans. There's a whole lot to that prophecy, more than what I was able to give. In case anybody wants to look it up.
Got it. Again, I believe that this pandemic is going to be May. It's going to shift, and then I think maybe after June 19th, there's going to be some stuff going on, and then toward December, I think it's going to really start to fade away, phase out. So, and I believe October by October 2022, it's going to completely be mostly completely done. So it'll be a done deal.
Yeah, I think so too.
So it's going to be like that. So anyhow, I want to thank you thank you, Marietta, Reverend Marietta White, for stopping by and all your information. And I want to thank all you other people that stopped by Thank you for stopping by. Have a God guide us weekend. Be the love that you are, always have been, and always will be. Aloha.